Just let it flow naturally out of you. So
not a single thing has ever flowed naturally out of me.
It's disgusting.
Okay. Hello, Internet. Welcome to Cinema Brawls. I'm Jake.
I'm still Matt.
And I'm Jake.
Oh, this is awkward. We have an imposter. But today we are going to be talking about the Muppet Movie and Dodgeball.
Hey.
Ooh, boxing ring thing.
Guys. We make jokes on this channel about the Cinema Bowl. But it really does know all. We had planned our entire filming schedule weeks and weeks in advance before drawing out this combination. And this combination, which consists of one of Jake's favorite movies, is being published on Jake's birthday.
Hey, I forgot about that. Hey, it's my birthday!
Happy birthday!
I'm 24. I'm old.
You are
He's
old.
single. He likes long walks on the beach. Walks? Wow, man. Jake.
And I can also speak coherently.
Just want to point that out. Not even planned, and it's fantastic.
Right. So these two are today going to crush my favorite movie on my birthday and make me cry. Great friends. Let's get started.
As soon as we sit at this table, we're no longer friends.
Screw you.
All right. Anyway, the Muppets movie, the most current Muppets movie, 2011 new.
With Jason Segel.
Jason Segel, Amy Adams, and literally so many cameos. So many cameos.
So does have a lot of cameos. Jack Black.
Yeah. It was directed by James Bobin? Not really sure.
The competitor is Dodgeball, which is a 2004 movie directed by Rawson Marshall Thurber. Thurber? Sorry, what? Never heard of him. But it stars Vince Vaughn and Ben Stiller, and it has Jason Bateman in it, too.
For a little bit.
Yeah, he's pretty good.
Let's move on to our first impressions.
My first impression is that the Muppets movie, while not great, will probably get a cinema knockout today. I think it's going to win hands down.
I really like the Muppets movie. Let me just blanket statement right out here. I think Dodgeball was hilarious. Definitely funnier than the Muppets movie, but I think the Muppets movie has a lot more going for it than just jokes. And there were some good jokes, there was. And so I don't think Muppets will necessarily have a cinema knockout, but I do think it will win just purely because of all the great things it has going for it.
And I disagree with that because I think that Dodgeball should win just because it's an amazing movie with a lot to it that you were not clearly looking for.
I would look for it if it was there.
I will prove you wrong today here at this table.
Great.
Well, why do you always go underneath? You know what? No.
Because it's there. No, my thing is I go underneath. Let me have my thing.
On your mark, get set, brawl.
All right, so
Let's start with the story for Yo Man.
Wrong one.
Let's start with the story.
So the Muppets movie is about a man.
Or is he a Muppet?
He's a Muppet. We can say that. He's a Muppet.
Jason Segel's a Muppet.
No,
All right.
Jason Segel isn't the Muppet. Jason Segel is the
Well,
man.
I was talking about Jason Segel first.
If he's a man, he's a Muppet of a man.
If I'm a man, that makes me a Muppet of a man. A Muppet of a man.
Whichever way you want to go. Point is,
Anyway, so it's
It's about a dude and his brother who's a Muppet. They go to Hollywood to follow his dreams.
pretty much. And in the meantime, they reunite the Muppets. Bring
Again,
them back
for like-
into popularity.
Yeah, for like the 5th time. I think this was the first movie after Disney bought the Muppets, right?
It was, yeah. I mean, it was kind of like a remake of the original Muppets movie from like, I don't know, I think it was like the 80s. But it was also not beat for beat remake. It was like, I don't know how to describe it. It was like a new movie, but with similar beats as the old one for like nostalgia. And I don't know. But I think Muppets had a very great story. As opposed to Dodgeball, which had what I would consider a loose outline, just to fill with jokes.
so Dodgeball and Muppets actually have a very similar story where both parties in each movie are trying to raise enough money to save their place of business. At which point they go into this whole, shenanigans thing and are, trying to be brought down by competitors and eventually both come out on top. If you look at it, their stories are very similar.
If you look at it like that, yes. But where Muppets, that story takes place across the entire movie runtime. In Dodgeball, the main conflict and everything is introduced within the first 5 minutes, and then it's literally just jokes. And there's nothing wrong with that because it's a comedy movie and it's supposed to do that. But I don't know.
What do you mean? Like
we meet
in the Muppets movie, he starts out, we don't find the conflict until a little while in after they get to Hollywood and everything. And then they spend that time reuniting the Muppets and then putting on the show. Well, They have to get the show first and then they put on the show.
Right.
In Dodgeball,
it was paced out really well.
He's got the problem. He has the competitor. He figures out a way to fix it after he gets everybody together. They start training. They go to the event and they take it from there.
Right.
I think the difference between the two is that one is more of like a character piece, the other one is a sports piece. It's where the focus is on either the characters or the sport. Does that make sense? Where like the thing that people are worried about and the thing that everyone needs to focus on is, in Dodgeball, is the dodgeball. Everything that they do is about dodgeball, and dodgeball is the means to their goal or whatever, right? But everything happens to dodgeball in relation to dodgeball. Versus the Muppets movie, where characters are introduced, their goals are established, and their, how do I put this? Their journey is more of a character-driven journey than a sports-driven journey.
I'd say a lot of the characters in Dodgeball were driving cause. It wasn't just about the sports.
They were only ever there because of the sport.
A lot of them were there before that.
Don't get me wrong, I'm not saying that that's a bad thing. That's just the nature of sports movies, is that the sport is the forefront.
Well, yeah, I mean, it kind of was, but a lot of it had to deal with the characters, figuring out things and, coming into their own. Like Vince Vaughn, they almost gave up because 4 or 5 of the characters had such troubling issues just during the final match that they all, had to go out and figure things out for themselves. A few of them only made it back in time because they finally did.
I don't know. I just like the story of Muppets a little bit better. They are very similar. If you put it out just a simple summary, they're trying to save their place of business.
I think the story for Dodgeball, though, was, you're rooting for the underdog. That's what it says in the title, True Underdog Story. And it's a really good story to follow because you have people that you can put your hopes and, dreams in.
The Muppets are just as much underdogs as the characters in Dodgeball are, because they haven't been popular since the 80s. And they're trying to come back into the limelight and save their show and their name, for crying out loud. I mean, they're underdogs if I've ever seen them. People don't even show up to their show for the first few minutes of it.
I think the point of Dodgeball was that it was kind of a spoof of a normal sports movie, because I mean Dodgeball is not really necessarily a sport. I'm sure there's people out there that think it's the best sport ever, but like it's
Well, actually, they have a joke in the movie that calls it almost a sport when they put it on the Ocho, ESPN.
almost a sport.
Yeah, they compared it to squirrels jet skiing, but
Oh, yeah. So I mean, it's kind of a spoof, and I like that aspect of it. I liked how it was kind of a straightforward sports movie, but just with like a stupid sport in it, and so but played it out the exact same way that like any sports movie, whether it's the exact same plot points happen, but these guys were just a little bit more tongue-in-cheek, starting from the premise that it is a dodgeball versus football or hockey or bobsledding or whatever.
All right, we can go on like this all day. Let's vote.
I still think the Muppets movie was better.
I think Dodgeball has a better story.
I think Muppets has a better story.
So Muppets wins this round.
Let's move on to characters.
Now here's the part that I have a lot of feelings about the Dodgeball movie, because I didn't like any of the characters. Now I will be the first one to admit that I don't like comedy movies or comedy TV shows like How I Met Your Mother, or kind of these, for lack of a better term, idiot comedies where a lot of the plot points happen because everyone's an idiot.
Mm-hmm.
Not saying that other people can't like that, I just don't. And so I didn't really like the characters as much, just because I thought that they were obnoxious, and I have this really hard time watching movies like that, because when a character does something stupid that they should feel embarrassed for, but they don't, because it's a movie and no movie characters will ever feel embarrassed ever. So I feel embarrassed for them, and I feel like I have to like leave the situation, and so a lot of times I like have to leave the room for a minute and compose myself, because I can't deal with it. But I had that problem a lot with
Everything.
with everything. But I had that problem with Dodgeball.
So like the characters in either movie are just all very one-dimensional. Like you took out the Muppets, for example. They each have like a gimmick, and they will not break from that gimmick to save their own lives. And that's the point, but that doesn't necessarily make them good characters. Dodgeball has the same problem. Everybody has a gimmick, and they stick to that. Like Ben Stiller is just a competitive jerk the whole time. Vince Vaughn is sarcastic the whole time. That one dude is a pirate the whole time. They all have a gimmick, and they don't break from it. And they're just no characters in either of these movies are incredibly deep. So, but I would guess, I would still vote for Muppets simply for the fact that the Muppets are more iconic. I mean, they're instantly recognizable, any one of them.
Well, I think you should give that to merits and genre, if anything. But
Fair.
The characters are very shallow, as Matt was putting it, in both movies. You don't get a lot from them, but you do get a few arcs. In the Muppets movie, you get Jason Segel and what was his brother's name?
Walter.
They both have to, figure out where they fit in the world. And in the Dodgeball movie, you've got the other guys kind of going through the same thing, where Vince Vaughn, basically gives up on himself and his team and has to figure out, what's important to him. And Steve the pirate, yes, was a pirate in most of the movie. However, he did, come out of that for a second.
For a brief second.
And then, again, very shallow arc, but it was an arc, realized that it's fine to be himself.
There were only like 3 arcs in the Muppets movie, I think, between Kermit, Walter, and Jason Segel's character. Like I said, everyone else just is like a one-note kind of character. They came in, did their thing, and we moved on.
Right, and I would vote for the Dodgeball characters because I feel like they had more of an arc, and I cared about them more than I did any of the Muppets.
I still am kind of leaning toward Muppets simply because they're more iconic. Anyway, Daniel.
I'm gonna go with Muppets still, just because, again, I didn't really like the character. I didn't really like Dodgeball.
Fair enough. let's move on to rewatchability. And I am going to totally give it all to Dodgeball. Because like I said at the beginning, it is a lot funnier. And if you want something, like the way I judge rewatchability is if I had to sit down and watch a movie every day for a week, which one would I rather watch? And I like the Muppets a lot. But after a couple days, it just would kind of lose its savor.
I couldn't watch a musical for 2 days straight, honestly.
Right.
Yeah.
So I think Dodgeball was a lot funnier, and so that's why I want to give it to rewatchability to Dodgeball.
Yeah, Dodgeball's more rewatchable. It's easier to sit down and say, this is a good movie, this is fun to watch.
It's just entertaining. I was giving it crap for not being very deep on the story, but when it comes to rewatchability, sometimes that's better.
I mean, I still like the Muppets movie better. I've watched it more. The Muppets movies and things like that, and so I like those characters and that story more, so I'd rather rewatch that, but...
Yeah, so I'm voting for Dodgeball.
I also vote for Dodgeball.
I think it's pretty clear that I vote for Muppets, but, you know.
All right.
Merits and genre. I think The Muppets was an okay comedy movie, and The Muppets as a whole are really quite more famous, but the movie itself, honestly, Muppets Most Wanted was better.
Really?
Yeah, Muppets Most Wanted was better.
I think they were kind of the same, really.
I mean, yeah, if you're comparing them against each other, they were pretty similar, but Muppets Most Wanted was like up here, and it's mostly because of Ty Burrell.
True.
But as for sports comedies, Dodgeball was made in, over 10 years ago, and it's still kicking around with references and whatnot.
True. But here's my argument. Muppets, when this Muppets movie was announced and was being made, it was an entire event. We were listing some of the celebrity cameos earlier. There were a ton of people wanting in on this. There was a soundtrack released where they remade some of the Muppets, classic Muppets songs, featuring some of your favorite bands, such as Weezer. There was a lead singer from Paramore, lead singer from Evanescence, the Airborne Toxic Event, The Fray. They made an album of a classic Muppets songs.
I'd like to go on the record and say I had no idea about that.
It was a whole event. And the plot of the movie was bringing the Muppets back into the limelight, and it did.
Kind of.
There was a TV show made after that movie. There was a sequel.
I don't remember any of that, though.
You remember the sequel?
Yeah, I remember the sequel. But I'm saying...
TV show.
I feel like it tried to do that, and they tried to do that, but I don't think it did very well, because I haven't thought about the Muppets except for those movies. I would give it to Dodgeball.
Of course you would.
It's because Dodgeball did better as a sports comedy than Muppets did as a Muppets movie.
I think that the Muppets wasn't great in terms of merits and genre. It didn't do a whole bunch. It did get the TV show, and it did get the sequel, but was that more of the movie was good, or was that more of, okay, Disney bought the Muppets and now it's like when you buy a grill, so you hold a barbecue to because you need to justify to yourself why you bought a grill.
You can look at it that way. I'm still voting for Muppets simply because, like I said before, it was a whole event. It was a big deal that Muppets are coming back.
The problem with that is the people put on the event, the people who made the movie. Mm-hmm. I don't know how much support it got from the people who watched it or afterwards, but you could do that with any movie if you really wanted to, if you had the funding for it.
You totally could.
I guess.
And besides, one of the things is that then Dodgeball didn't.
Dodgeball didn't put on a big event because it wasn't something that needed to be big. It didn't make a sequel because it didn't need a sequel. It's a good standalone movie. And if I'm digging through a $5 bin...
didn't need a sequel either.
It got one. I liked it. I like the sequel of Muppets. But if I'm digging through a $5 bin at Walmart, I'm still going to be able to see Dodgeball in there, and I do frequently.
Yeah,
but I never see Muppets.
Movies are in there because no one buys them, right?
Because they're old.
I'm voting Muppets. Jake's voting Dodgeball.
I'm still going to vote Muppets.
Of course you are.
Emotional impact.
Muppets.
You think so?
Yeah, Muppets was more emotional. Dodgeball was a shallow comedy. Yeah, Muppets created more emotion for the Muppets than Dodgeball ever could have. So
Yeah, I mean,
It wasn't great emotion, but it was emotion.
it was there. I don't know. I like the Muppets movie. I know it's not the best movie ever, but I think there was a lot more emotion to it. Again, Dodgeball was funny, and so like you go into the movie, you want to laugh, you do. You come out with having laughed. But Muppets had a lot more laughed.
Having laughed.
But Muppets had a lot more different emotions that I feel like you feel those as well. It's a little more sporadic between the two, but it's there.
All right, so does that make Muppets our winner?
That does make Muppets our winner. Yay.
Sorry, Dodgeball. Didn't like you. That's okay. Not everyone has to. Now time for the Cinema Bowl.
Or hopefully we pick out a matchup that doesn't piss us off.
Great.
It's gonna piss us off, isn't it?
I don't know. Depends on what Daniel gets.
It will. I can already tell. That was a...
Dr. Horrible's sing-along blog.
The Shining.
Oh, snap.
My condolences.
Daniel likes both these movies. Which one's gonna win, Daniel?
I guess we'll see next time. Bye.
He's physically, like, retching right now.
Why you do this to me, universe? I believed in you, Cinema Bowl. I prayed to you every night.
It's punishing you for your dislike of the movie Dodgeball and How I Met Your Mother.